Welcome to Namaste Today, a sacred way to start your day. I'm your host, psychic astrologer Christopher Witecki, Sensei to serious joy and friend to the world. Welcome, my friend, and Namaste. Well, today it will be a spiritual and introverted day. In fact, we're on countdown to the new moon, which is the most powerful day of the year to cast our intentions. In our zodiac weather, I'll be giving you the tips and tricks to connecting today. And later in your tea time, speaking of connecting to spirit, we just lost Princess Leia Carrie Fisher. And 2016 was a huge year for celebrity loss. I'm going to take a look at why planetarily we lost so many in 2016. But first, let's check out today's mood and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is for Wednesday, December 28th, 2016. Today's world moodcast: cloudy, introverted, and spiritual for planet Earth. Everyone's going to be kind of walking around Earth a bit or half asleep. We are connecting to our spirit, and we're on countdown to the new moon. The moon is also in Capricorn and will cross the sun late tonight or early tomorrow morning. Let's take a deeper look at the planets. Well, we're on countdown to the new moon, which is the most powerful day to set our spiritual intentions in a given month. It's because the sun, our heart, and the moon, our emotions, come together. And usually our heart and emotions have to come together. They don't like being on different tracks. And so when you bring both of these consciousnesses together, you plant the seeds for a new reality. Now, this particular new moon is an inside-out new moon because Mercury is retrograde. Not only that, but Mercury will cross over the sun in the whole new moon period as well. This comes down to us really getting our hearts, our minds with Mercury, and our feelings around a decision. Now, step 7 rules today, which means our mind will be in our intuitive mind today, and our hearts will also be searching for a spiritual answer. That's what leads us up to the new moon. But, says the planets, by the time the moon does cross the sun, step 8 will be ruling the day, which means we'll be ready to be making a decision or a commitment somewhere in our life. And it's a retrograde commitment, which means we might be going back to either a time we've already lived in this life or subconsciously going back to a past life scenario and bringing it forward. Most certainly, though, we are deciding to turn away from the last year, deciding to turn away from lots of different practices. Because of Pluto at step 16, this is a new moon that decides to turn the way to an old era and open up to a new era. And I have coined this week as accepting uncertainty, so I think the only thing we're certain about are things we don't want. I think we're pretty much uncertain about everything else. But what's interesting is the planets really show a lot of evidence for past life or spiritual progression going on. Mars today is in Pisces, and in Pisces at step 7. Step 7 is the number of Pisces in Pisces. So Pisces and 7 are basically the same vibration. And so Mars says we are moving forward today on this new moon period with our spiritual path. On top of that, Mars is on top of Neptune, which is the ruler of 7 and Pisces. So with this inside-out decision to turn away from an old era, we have all of this energetic push to move toward our true spiritual path and only our true spiritual path. One more interesting clue to this new moon period is Venus. Venus is at step 24 Aquarius, which means that in this moment of our spiritual progression and turning away from what's not, we're opening up, which is Venus, to step 24. Step 24 is the Eden, or the most beautiful, perfect vibration possible in a given transit, and Aquarius is our idea of utopia. So on this 24-hour new moon, we are opening up to our ideas of a perfect utopia. Whether or not it's achievable or not, we are aiming for that very high vibration. So really, conscious of it or not, Sensei says, fate is unfolding right now, whether you realize it or not. we are falling into our spiritual path. And I do believe we are moving forward with the story we were born to live. And I do believe that now in Capricorn, even the smallest decisions right now will probably have great impact. In fact, later in January, the sun is going to cross over Pluto, and that truly will be the death of an era and the birth of a new one. And I think the decisions in which you come to in the next 24 hours will determine that future fate. So today, listen to your soul. If you have a major decision that you have to make, well, listen to your soul, listen to your intuition, and go to bed tonight clear on what you decide. And at least if you don't know what you're aiming for, be clear on what you are not aiming for, what you are turning away from, because that's always the early step 8 regardless. And with that, I thought we would explore what a difficult year it was in 2016 and how many celebrities we lost. So go steep yourself some tea and let's have our daily tea time. Good day, my friend, and welcome to our tea time. Today's tea time topic is celebrity deaths in 2016. In the last 24 hours, you might have heard Carrie Fisher, famously known as Princess Leia, passed away. And this is one of so many celebrity deaths in 2016. I can't, as an adult, remember a year like we've just experienced. And it caused me to question, why now? Why are we losing so many power players? And that's one of the other things. If you look at this list of celebrities that went in the last year, they weren't just celebrities. They were power players. I want to review just a couple if you don't know. I mean, it was just on Christmas that we lost George Michael from Wham. He was an 80s power player, right? But we also lost David Bowie last year, another musical power player, and Prince. Okay, so basically you have from each of the decades right there, a power player kind of going down. We lost, of course, Carrie Fisher, Zsa Zsa Gabor, Florence Henderson from the Brady Bunch, Arnold Palmer, who famous golfer and inventor of lemonade and iced tea, right? These are power players. Muhammad Ali, okay, Maury Safer, Nancy Reagan. Talk about power players. So why, Sensei? Why did we lose so many in 2016? Well, here's my spiritual and planetary look at it. For one, when it comes to power players, these souls tend to be ahead of the game. They're visionaries. And I think that when they see the earth changing, it doesn't matter what age they are, they're like, okay, this story's done, I'm getting off of this, and I want to be the first one in the next era. So I think a lot of spiritual power players are anxious to be power players in the next era, and they're just ready to move on and get on with it and be there first, waiting for us when we finally get there. So to some degree, it's just kind of a spiritual quality. They say the good die young. They say the talented go too soon. And I think a lot of it is when you have spirits that are very, who are into power and into being there ahead of time, visionaries, they tend to go soon or go by surprise. The other thing I think is that world power on Earth this year in 2016 is truly changing. And it's due to a number of factors. One of the biggest factors is that Saturn has been in Sagittarius, and Saturn in Sagittarius in this last lap, this whole year in 2016, means that the culture is changing what its beliefs are. And I think we saw the end result of that belief change in the national elections, right? Where we ended up going a direction that no one could just believe happened. Even the winners couldn't believe how it turned out. And that's because Americans and people in the world changed their belief on things with Saturn and Sag. So when beliefs change, the people they support and the power changes. So a belief change is a huge clue. Another clue of a big power change on Earth is Pluto. Pluto teeter-tottered between step 14 and step 16 in 2016. Pluto is in Capricorn, the sign of power. And the point of it is when it moved from 15 to 16, that means we were over the hill in Capricorn, which to me says there would be a power regime change. And indeed, I think we've seen that again with the national elections. We saw that the power of Congress completely changed. The president is just completely new. I mean, we've never had a reality TV star in the White House before. We've had an Hollywood actor, you know what I mean? But so this is a whole new game, and this is a whole new power structure. And I literally think that the power is being created handshake by handshake in DC now, literally. So there is power change as well. But another planetary clue on top of that is all the outer planets that are now at step 20, okay? We have Jupiter at step 20. That means we're at the edge of that transit. Uranus, very slow-moving planet. 86 years is its orbit. It is now at 20 degrees Aries, and the last time that was there was right before World War II. So we're now in these top degrees of finishing this Aries story, this ego story. So this is really the third chapter in American ego or ego that we're going into. But Chiron in Pisces is at step 21 also, and that's our spiritual healing. So human beings are coming to the end of our spiritual healing. We're coming to the end of our ego transit, and we're coming to the end with Saturn at 21 degrees of what we believe. All these outer planets coming to an end means that there's going to be a power shift, and the people who once had power will no longer have power, and people who have not had power will have power. So I think what you see here is with the loss of all these powerful celebrities, Patty Duke, Gene Wilder, Alan Thicke, I mean there are more, Glenn Fry from the Eagles. This was the old power of rock and roll, of stardom, of all this, all jumping ship in 2016. It's because these souls who know power, who get power, who have held the power, know that the day is over, there's a power change going on. And I think they're progressively hopping off the planet and reincarnating at their soonest, whenever they feel like it, basically. I think that's what our choice is. So I think we're having a power change. Now, how does this affect you? Good question I put out there. The answer is you and your power and where you draw power from, what you have chased after and what you have not, where you have been compassionate to yourself and where you have not, when you have been fair to yourself and when you have not. These are the old stories that are all adding up inside of you. And it's time for you, my friend, to decide if you are going to be caught up in the old power games or if you're going to go ahead and pilgrim out and create a new sense of power in yourself based on the choices you make and the things you commit to. And my advice to stay on the straight and narrow, very simply, listen to your intuition, ask your soul, and make sure that your soul and your heart has a voice in the decisions you make. If your soul and your heart are part of that decision, I just don't ever see it going wrong. All right, my friend. Well, I hope you have a fabulous spiritual day on this new moon. Make sure you go to bed tonight being clear at least on what you're not, and hopefully on what you are and where you are becoming. And until then, remember Sensei loves you, and live, love, be.
Live, love, be.